hate crime, the rise of hate crime since that referendum as well. Police do say that the mechanisms to report hate crime have also improved, but with no doubt the figures have risen quite significantly. How alarmed have you been at those figures, particularly in the West Midlands?
I think something to say about figures is that, firstly, the highest number constitutes hate crime is against people of their faith and religion. So we know that's an issue. But my major concern is there was a huge underreporting. Yeah. I've met professionals in my constituency who probably lived here for a very long time and have been called various things constituting a hate crime. And they said they wouldn't report it to the police, and I said, but why not? And she said, because actually we've reported burglaries and we've had no response from the police, so why would I report something like hate crime? I think there's two things really. People still don't understand what constitutes as a hate crime, and secondly, people are not reporting it. A lot of people feel, well, what's the point, actually, given that the police have had such cuts? And you can understand that sentiment, but actually we need to encourage more people to be reporting so that we can hold the government to account to be doing a lot more, because as you know, the government's hate crime action plan ignored Sikhs. It didn't recognise actually that Sikhs are also on the receiving end of hate crime. And yes, the Gurdwaras have been given the opportunity to apply for funds to make them secure, but it isn't just about that. And it is essentially about the underreporting, I have to say. That really worries me.
Obviously, Labour suffered quite heavily in the local elections and also in the European Parliament elections. Do you wish the Labour leadership had a bit of a stronger, firmer position on Brexit rather than somewhat a muddled position, as some have said?
I think, look, there's a couple of things here. There is obviously the media reporting of Labour's position. I think Keir Starmer, I think Jeremy Corbyn have been very clear that we support a conformity vote on no deal. Now, we are at the point where Jeremy has met with groups of MPs from Remain seats and Leave seats. He'll be meeting with the unions, and the Shadow Cabinet will make a confirmed decision next week. I think heading into conference, our conference motion was very clear. That if we couldn't get a general election, we haven't been able to get a general election, that we then move on to that phase of our motion, which is clearly that we support a confirmatory vote. In Dublin, Jeremy Corbyn very clearly stated that we support a confirmatory vote on any deal. I appreciate, though, that people feel that that message hasn't come across clear because they feel that others give interviews and they give a very mixed picture. And I think that's why I think it's really important that we come out with a very clear and strong message to the country and show leadership in regards to this, because it isn't about fearing what that means in terms of another general election. The country needs leadership. The country needs a direction. And the fact that we might have Boris as Prime Minister, which is very, very concerning. He doesn't have a plan A or a plan B around Brexit. The Labour Party is the only party that can really give that hope to the country that, we are a Remain and Reform party.
I want to bring the census into it. I know that's an issue which yourself and other Sikh groups as well across the UK have been pressing the government on. Have you had any latest correspondence with sort of ministers on that, and what are your sort of latest concerns on the census?
Well, the thing is, my concern about the census is that there's a lot of people sharing information on social media or putting information out which is very incorrect. If you haven't got a background of really understanding the importance of having a Sikh tick box, and let's not forget what we're asking for. We're asking for the option of. So people can still tick Indian, but they should have an option to tick Sikh as well. And that's what the census is asking. Firstly, we have the Mandela Lee case 1981, which gives Sikhs and Jews protections as an ethnic group in this country. The census is not only about counting how many Sikhs there are in the United Kingdom. The census is the fact that the ONS has told public bodies to only use the census categories when they are monitoring local communities in their areas, but also delivering services. So when I was a cabinet member in Sandwell, the Sikh population was the highest. 60% of the BAME population in Sandwell was Sikh, but they received pretty much zero in terms of having services directed at them as a community. Now, we know there's an issue about ethnicity groups as classified in the census, because you could argue is Bangladeshi or Pakistani an ethnicity. It's it's a nationality. But the fact of the matter is, there are those people that will say, make this into a theological argument. This is not a theological argument. This is about discrimination. This is about inequality. The race disparity audit that the government did to look at how BMA communities are doing in public services looked at 100 data sets. Okay, they looked at 100 data sets across government and they found no data on Sikhs. That should alarm anybody that has an inkling of fighting for justice. That should alarm any Sikh in this country to say, actually, Sikhs need to have the same equal opportunities that any other communities are given. Now, there's a lot of people putting out a lot of negative rhetoric about this. We have done an FOI request. It's on the ONS website. There's a link. You can see those very people that are against it. And those very people that are against it, I pose a question and challenge them, who do you represent? Because if we ignore any Sikh group, just say, if we just take the last census, 83,000 Sikhs in the United Kingdom did a protest vote and ticked other and wrote Sikh. Where is their voice? So all these people that are putting out a negative campaign, making this into a theological argument, because they themselves don't understand this, they are actually doing a disservice to the Sikh community, I would say. We are asking people to give the Sikh community an option, and they have. As a legislator, we have absolutely that right. I would do it for any community. We are asking for an option to have a Sikh tick box. Now, we know that there is over 140 Sikh organisations, and Gurdwaras are taking legal action against the Cabinet Office in respect of this, and that is the right of the community to do that. But this is a community campaign that's been delivered since 2001. It's not been owned by any single organisation. I'm really pleased that all of the major organisations and the Gurdwaras are supporting it, because they know and understand that the fight for justice around inequality and discrimination is a long one, and it's one that we should be really advocating. So I'd ask all of those people that are putting out negative stuff about this, come out and reach and speak to me and let me have a conversation with you on this, because it's really important you actually understand the facts rather than putting out lots of negative rhetoric.
Do you think there will be?
I think, look, the judicial process in India takes quite a long time, and we know that if you get stuck in that process, then your case can take 5 to 7 years. Here we have a case, though, that we have a Scottish national visiting India, a law-abiding, normal citizen, not involved in anything to do with any organisation or any agendas, if you think about it from that perspective. And he gets abducted. Now, I've had moderate Sikhs come to my constituency surgeries and say, we're really afraid to go to India, because if this is somebody who had no profile, who was just a normal person, and this can happen to them, then what does that mean for us? And I think, the British government needs to do a lot more. I think, look, the FCO have been trying. They've been working with Gurpreet, quite closely, and working with the Indians to kind of really understand that if there are charges to be levied against him, then let's do that. But how can we keep him in jail for over 2 years now, without any prosecution, without any charges brought against him? He's now been, transferred to Tihar jail. Again, how is this giving him justice? Because if his lawyer has to travel from Delhi, if his family has to travel from Delhi, this doesn't seem fair. And I urge the Modi government to give him, a fair crack at justice, really, and to return him back to Punjab jail. So actually, he can be tried in those courts. And I really hope that the BJP government will do this, because they are sending the messages that they want to address, the concerns that Sikhs are raising with them. So let's see what happens.